Hey guys, Devamitra one more time. A very warm welcome and a very good evening to all of you. Hope you guys are doing well, right? So, guys, in my previous sessions, I've talked about so many things. I've tried to provide you the best knowledge about life, about your career, how you can write down one professional resume, what are the things you need to do in an HR interview, how you can prove yourself in an organization, what kind of decorum you need to follow when you are working in an organizational behavior environment. So, I've tried to provide you the best knowledge as per my knowledge. So, in my today's session I'm going to talk about something that is my Q&A session is already going on. Okay, so in that Q&A session I have tried to provide you the knowledge about Salesforce and the question answers of about Salesforce. So in my today's session I'm going to give you the answers, possible answers of Aura company interview questions. Okay, so let's get started, guys. At first we need to know what is called Aura component. Aura component are a set of tools used to build applications for the Salesforce. Okay, so a Lightning platform. If you are a developer who is specialized in this area, you may be asked questions about your experience and the expertise during a job interview. So I'm trying to provide you the question answer that can be asked. Okay, so the most common or a component interview questions, and I'm trying to provide you the tips on how to answer them. Okay, so let's get started. So at first, Aura component interview questions are like that. That is, what is Aura? Aura is a set of open source UI components developed by Salesforce.com. It is used to build dynamic web applications for mobile and desktop devices. Okay, so can you explain what Lightning components are? The answer is Lightning components are reusable building blocks that can be used to create applications for the Lightning platform. Lightning components are built using the Aura programming framework and can be used in both Lightning experience and Visual Force pages. Okay, so how does an Aura component differ from a Visual Force component in Salesforce? So the main difference between an Aura component and a Visual Force component is in Salesforce is that Aura components are built on a open source framework, while Visual Force components are built on the Salesforce platform. This means that Aura components are more flexible and can be used a wider variety of applications, while Visual Force components are more limited in their use. So, how do the naming conventions for components in Aura compare with those in Visual Force? In Aura component, names must be unique with a namespace. In Visual Force, component names must be unique within a page. Okay, so what frameworks can be used to develop custom Lightning components? The three main frameworks that can be used to develop custom Lightning components are the Lightning Component Framework, the Lightning Web Components Framework, and the Salesforce Lightning Design System. So, what is your understanding of the difference between Lightning and Aura for an app and Aura and application tags? The Lightning Aura tag is used to define component that will be used within the Lightning experience, while the Force app and Aura application tags are used to define an application that will be used outside of the Lightning experience. The main difference between the two is that the Force app tag will include all of the necessary dependencies for the application to run, while the Aura application tag will only include the dependencies that are only listed. Okay, so how many controllers can component have? A component can have only one controller. How can you reference another component's controller method? In order to reference another component's controller method, you will need to use C controller. For example, that is C get component and component name and the V method name. Okay, so what is the significance of the client side method? The init client side or in client side method is used initialize a component after it's been created. This is where you would set any initial attributes or values for the component. So can you explain what happens when an event handler is called? When an event handler is called, the controller for the component is invoked. The controller then calls the appropriate component's action method, which updates the component state. Finally, the component is re-rendered so that the changes can be reflected in the UI. So when would you use both client side and server side action at the same time? In general, you would want to use client side action if the desired outcome can be achieved purely through JavaScript, and you would want to use server side action if the desired outcome requires a server round trip. Okay. However, there are some cases where you might want use both the client side and server side actions together. For example, you might use a client side action to perform some initial validation on a form, and then use a server side action to submit the form data to the server for further processing. So is it possible to access an Apex class from one namespace within a component that belongs to a different namespace? If yes, then how? Yes, it is possible to access an Apex class from one namespace within a component that belongs to a different namespace. In order to do this, you will need to use the get root method to access the class from the other namespace. Okay. In which order handlers executed during the handling of an event? The order in which handlers are executed during the handling of the order and event is: the first one is the handlers registered on the element that fired the event. The handlers registered on the element's ancestors in order from the closest ancestor to the furthest. Okay. The difficult handlers registered on the element. The default handlers registered on the element's ancestors in order from the closest ancestor of the furthest. So what is the difference between registering a component using OR? Is used to register a new component while is using to register an existing component. The main difference between the two is this allows you to specify additional attributes such as the event's name and type. So when should you use the tag? The tag should be used when you need to declare a dependency on a third-party library or component. This dependency will then be loaded and made available to your component. So why do you think dependency injection makes sense for Aura components? There are several reasons why dependency injection makes sense for Aura components. First, it can help to decouple the components from each other, okay, making them more reusable and easier to test. Second, it can make it easier to manage dependencies between different components. And finally, it can help to improve the performance of Aura components by reducing the need to look up dependencies or at routine. Okay. So what is the difference between Aura enabled and the remote action annotations? The Aura enabled is used to expose a method in an Aura component so that it can be called from within Lightning. Okay, while a remote action is used to expose a method in an Aura component so that it can be called from outside of Lightning. So do all attributes need values assigned to them by default? If not, how can they be left unassigned? No, all attributes do not need values assigned to them by default. In fact, most attributes will not have values assigned to them by default. However, there are some attributes that will require values to be assigned in order for the component to function properly. These attributes will be marked as required in the documentation. So guys, these are the questions. I've tried to provide you the prior knowledge about the aura component interview questions. So if you wanted to know more, you need to read properly. And if you wanted to answer these questions, or if you wanted to make yourself a candidate who know everything about aura component, you need to read more elaborately. So I have tried to provide you the prior knowledge. So in PCS Global, we are providing the training in Java DevOps. We're providing training in Java full stack and Salesforce. So guys, kindly communicate with us, get the best from our site, and kindly call us. Our numbers are going on in the description box. You can go for our webinar session. Our webinar session and master classes are also going on. Every weekend, you can join our webinars, our master classes, to get the best from PCS Global. More than 1500 plus candidates have worked with us. Right now, they are working in another MNCs very successfully. So if you wanted to see yourself as a successful IT professional, kindly connect with us and get the best from our side. So this is for now, guys. Bye for now.